what you're saying is, well, okay, if each individual person has their own ability to choose their morals.
Yes.
Each individual person can do that.
Yeah.
So it's all relative. So if we as a society believe that this thing is inherently wrong, if we as a society believe school shootings inherently wrong, racism inherently wrong, that's our beliefs as a society. That could be completely different than the beliefs of
what you're
saying
is that you're just going to use personal anecdotes of, well, this scripture says...
That's not what I said at all.
Well,
yeah,
no.
That was like the fourth point.
No, you said that, well, look at scripture.
Yep.
Scripture says this specific person, God helped them in this way. You said, well, okay, so kids dying of cancer, these kids are going to heaven. So basically, you're only pointing to personal anecdotes to try and prove to some... So if someone's an atheist, they don't...
What did I start with? What was my first point? You're missing my first point. Because you're right. If I would have just said those, that would have been an embarrassing answer. I totally agree. Talked about C.S. Lewis and moral obligation and how he dealt with suffering and evil and thinking through it logically, that it's not that bad if there is no God, because there's no moral obligation, no real evil and goodness. Secondly, no, to your point, it's a great point. Do you want to finish and then I'll answer?
Well, what I was going to say is, basically, what y'all are saying is pretty much that without God, if you're an atheist, if you don't believe in God or any higher power, if you're not spiritual, then you have no ability to have morals.
No,
basically.
we never said that once. We would never say that.
Not that you don't have an
Sir,
ability.
I've been speaking for 40 years on campus, okay? I've never said that once.
Don't jump on me. Because
Yes, I will. When you misquote me, I will reject it.
If you're going to jump first, we got to jump second.
Yeah, we will jump. You're jumping and we'll jump, okay? So please don't misquote me. I have never once said atheists cannot live good lives. I've said the opposite. I've said my atheist friends live good lives. They have an understanding of goodness. The question is, what is goodness? Who defines goodness? And if there is no God, the answer to that's real obvious. You define goodness, I define goodness, culture defines goodness, the power elite define goodness, but it's all relative depending upon the individual, the culture, or the powerful people you're interacting with.
But that's how it is in general, all right.
No! Those are the different options.
No.
The individual, the culture, the power elite, or God.
Each person has the ability to choose their own morals.
Yeah, obviously, we all choose.
Every government of any body of people has their ability to choose the morals that they're going to put into law over the people that...
Obviously, we agree on that.
So that already exists in real life.
Obviously, that exists in real life.
Has the ability
so
to
what on
choose
earth is
their
your
own
point?
morals. Well, you're saying that to be able to... You're saying that we should all have some sort of communal, morals.
False. Never said that once.
You're saying that we should get these morals derived from Scripture and from God.
False. Never said that once.
You just explain what you just said.
Thank you for asking.
Explain it again.
What I said was, if he says there is no mind prior to the human mind, no God, then it's obviously the human mind that creates and defines right and wrong, which means right and wrong are totally relative. They are a fantasy created in this handsome head, a fantasy created in this handsome head. I am not right, he's not wrong, he's not right, I'm not wrong. It's all relative. That is all we've been saying. Now, when you realize that, what you've got to say is, okay, I think it's wrong for him to stab him, but that's just my personal bias. If he chooses to say it's good to stab him, that's good for him.
Yeah.
No, wrong. It's horrible for him to stab him.
Yeah, but it's all relative.
No, it's not all relative.
Is it wrong for you? Do you believe that it's wrong for me to just stab him?
Yeah, but what I
that's
believe
just
and what
relative
you believe,
opinion.
Everything's relative.
Exactly.
that's
So if
a
you
relative
believe
statement.
everything's relative,
Yeah.
live it out. So if I stab him, don't tell me that I've done something objectively wrong. Tell me, from your biased perspective, me stabbing him is wrong.
By the standards of our society.
Good, and so what if we live in white South Africa? What happens if
then the standards of that society are different than they are here?
Exactly, which means it's still all relative.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Which means don't get so upset about him stabbing him. Because it's just relatively wrong. It's not objectively wrong, it's just relatively wrong. So chill and let him stab him. Now, you can say it's wrong. Obviously, he says it's right.
But it's still relative.
Yeah, exactly, according from your view.
Believes. So you're saying that the only reason that we believe that it's a general consensus that someone stabbing someone else is evil is because those are morals that we got from God?
Because morality is relative. For him to stab him, objectively, nothing wrong. But if he has been created with value, because there's a God who made him for a purpose, then it is evil for him to murder him. It's that simple.
Evil is relative. Evil is
No, it's
a matter
not.
of opinion.
When is the abuse of an innocent child ever good?
I'm saying we believe it's bad as a society, but an individual could still believe.
I could give a rip. In some societies, they think it's just fine to eat your babies. I think that society is wrong. I don't care what the culture says. It's wrong to eat your baby. Don't do it. Objectively wrong. I am convinced Dr. Martin Luther King was absolutely correct when he wrote the letter from the Birmingham jail that said, you know, I really don't care what the great state of Alabama says. There's a law above the law of the great state of Alabama, and according to that law, segregation is evil. The only way he can say that is because he knows there's a God who creates all human beings in his image with equal value. Therefore, for you to denigrate somebody and have a racist attitude is not relatively wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Does that make sense?
But that doesn't prove anything.
Doesn't prove anything, you're right. It's just calling you to be intellectually consistent, that's all.
No.
So if you're going to tell me morality is relative, then don't tell me that abusing innocent children is wrong. Don't tell me that racism is wrong.
But you're misquoting me. Because
I'm not quoting you. I said don't say. I haven't said it yet.
I'm saying don't say, and then whatever.
Don't think, okay? I'm not quoting you, okay?
So what you're saying is, well, okay, if each individual person has their own ability to choose their morals,
Yes.
each individual person can do that.
Yeah.
So it's all relative. So if we as a society believe that this thing is inherently wrong, if we as a society believe school shootings inherently wrong, racism inherently wrong, that's our beliefs as a society. That could be completely different than the beliefs of a society somewhere else in the world or of a society from the past.
Is our society right and that other society that disagrees with us wrong?
It's all, I mean, it
Relative,
just depends
come on.
yeah,
It's
it's
all
all relative.
relative.
It depends on the
So
society.
don't tell me there's any objective good or objective evil. It's all relative.
I never said that there was objective good or objective
Okay,
evil. There's
then
not.
don't get so upset
society can
about
believe-
evil. Because evil is not objectively wrong, it's relatively wrong.
And you wouldn't go to India and those kids whose parents are breaking their bones, so they put them out on the side of the street so people can give the family money. You wouldn't dare, as an American, go down there and tell them that that's wrong, would you?
Because that's their culture.
And that's ethnocentric of you to do so. I hope you wouldn't do that, because that would be very inconsistent by what you are saying right now, not him misquoting.
The definition of ethnocentric is only from the standards of one's own society.
So you wouldn't do it.
Just because I'm telling them that it's wrong, I'm not saying you need to believe that this is wrong, because my society says you should believe that this is wrong. Saying I believe this is wrong,
and
that's
I don't
not saying
believe
it's
that you really
objectively
believe
wrong.
that. I do not believe that you really believe that. I don't think if you went down to help that poor child, that his parents did that to him, that you would come back here and be like, oh shoot, that was just my own cultural American morality again, and I cannot tell them that was really wrong.
But that's the truth.
I think you would be pretty dejected and feel pretty bad about yourself.
But I
no,
that's the truth
you
of the
use
situation.
oughts and shoulds every day, I'm
That's the
sure.
truth of
Hey
the
mom,
situation.
you ought to have given me money for lunch today. Hey brother, you should not have hit me today and pummeled me again. What are you appealing to when you say ought and should?
Y'all see how he's trying to make me, you should feel, you would feel bad coming back in this society, right?
Shoulds
Talking
and
over me.
oughts. Shoulds
And you've
and
talked
oughts.
over us as well, so it's a match. Don't
Yeah, I
worry.
let you speak a lot.
But it's
Continue.
It's all relative to say that something is objectively wrong. It's objective based off of our society's beliefs.
And we're saying
something
no.
is objectively wrong in general over the course of all of history,
Yes.
that is based off of our current society's beliefs.
And we're saying Abraham Lincoln was right when he led a civil war that said to the South, you are wrong. Enslaving African Americans is evil, and we're willing to die to stop it. What an arrogant bigot Abraham Lincoln was, or what a man in touch with reality, in touch with objective morals, that he would put it on the line and say, we're going to end slavery. You don't understand that? You're smarter. You understand what I just said to you.
At the time, society believed that slavery was, in general, a good thing.
Yeah,
During
and
the
Abraham
time-
Lincoln said
and-
no.
But there was also large groups of people during the time that believed that slavery was a bad thing.
Yeah.
So viewing that as an objective wrong, that's still just another example of the beliefs of the society at the time.
No, it's not. It is a claim that slavery is absolutely evil. Therefore, I am willing to put my life on the line to end it. It's not relatively evil. It's not me foisting my cultural bias on the Southerners. It is me holding to moral absolute. Slavery is evil.
But just because one person believes that doesn't believe that another person believes that.
That obviously.
It doesn't mean that another person thinks that that is the objective truth.
Obviously.
So how can there be an
So
objective
what?
truth if not everyone believes it? It's all
You got to be
relative.
kidding me. You honestly believe that in order for there to be an objective truth, everybody's got to agree on it? Are you serious? That is so scary. It's incredible. You think that unless I can get everybody to agree that the abuse of an innocent child is wrong, and then it's wrong, but if there are a few people who think abusing an innocent child is okay, that therefore it's okay?
I'm telling you, how is it objective if not everyone believes it?
Because objectively, you are created in the image of God. You have been given a value by God that culture and individual, the power elite, the intelligentsia cannot change. It is objectively true, you have value. Which means that if anybody devalues you, that is absolutely evil. Objectively evil.
It's not about emotionally feeling it or emotionally just believing in it. No, it's the oughts and should above. It's appealing to a moral transcendent obligation and duties. Please go and check this out. Moral obligation and duties that we buy into. You're right, cultures are different. Cultures are different. There's honor killings in certain cultures. You're exactly right. But we still, every single person knows the value of a human being, that they have innate value and dignity. Even
But that's
cannibals,
not tied to
study
religion.
of,
That's not
of
tied to
cannibals, still,
religion.
you have to
That's not
dehumanize
tied to a higher
before
power.
you actually...
That's not
No,
tied
it's
to a
not
higher
tied...
power. That's not
No, no, no,
tied
no,
to
no.
religion.
Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians, Jews, all say that this is tied to a god. They would differ on what god it is. But even when we talked to one of the top atheists who wrote the introduction, Oxford Introduction to Atheism, Julie Baggini, says that the moral argument is the toughest for an atheist to get around because it breaks into your life in such a way where there are moral oughts, shoulds, and duties in your life. And you know it and you live it out day to day.
But
And
whenever-
you did not make it up. And the statement, when you started out here saying, oh, it's just relativism. Well, that's a relative statement. So why should I buy in to your statement of it's just all relative? That sounds very objective by you stating it's all relative.
No, I'm not saying that objectively, everyone believes their own beliefs.
How's that
It's
objective?
objectively, it's all relative.
Yeah, subjectively.
No, everyone believes their own beliefs. Everyone holds their own
Subjective.
value system,
Yep.
their own morals.
Yeah.
So the fact that there is an objective right and wrong, different societies throughout time have had a majority of people in societies have had a belief that a certain thing is right or a
Right.
certain thing is wrong
Right.
that we would think are completely different than
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. That's reality.
So
That's reality.
during those times, who was thinking, oh, these things are objectively wrong?
People who believed in God for thousands of years have understood God has given commands. He's given us a conscience, and we, by exercising that conscience, can understand what is morally true, good, and real. Therefore, if you try and sexually assault her, I'm going to try and physically stop you. Why? Because she has value, he has value, and when you sexually assault her, you're not like the baboons, you're not like the chimpanzees who do sexually assault each other. Male baboons and chimpanzees sexually assault female baboons and chimpanzees. You're not a baboon, you're a human being created in the image of God. God has created her not as a baboon or as a chimpanzee, but as a woman created in his image. And therefore, if you try and sexually assault her, I will physically try to stop you because I'm convinced it's objectively wrong, morally absolutely wrong for a man to sexually assault a woman.
So if you from the perspective of believing in objective truth, like from your perspective, believing that there is an objective truth of an objective right and wrong with certain situations,
Yes.
certain moral
Yes, sir.
quandaries, whatever.
Correct.
How you're basically saying that that is innately from a higher power, from God. That
If it's real.
we have an objective.
If it is real, there's only one way it can be, that there is some mind prior to his mind, prior to my mind, prior to her mind, that creates and defines her with value.
But if you look at evolution, how do you know that that's not just? I mean, you look at, in the most basic example,
Right.
you look at crabs, and
Right.
they hatch and they go to the moon. They follow the moon to the ocean.
Okay?
How do you know that it's not just something that we've developed over evolution, over time, that we have developed as humans to, hey, you know what? We innately believe that there is good, that there is value in each individual person. How do you know that that's not something that we've
Because that's
developed over
that's the
evolution
opposite
over
of
time?
what evolution teaches. It's the strong eat the weak. It's the powerful are in control. That's why Hitler picked up Nietzschean thinking, which was based off of evolutionary psychology, which says strong eat the weak. There is the Uberman. There is the powerful race. And so you never get morality, especially Judeo-Christian morality that you and I buy into every single day, out of evolutionary psychology. Would you?
Yeah, you could get.
How do you get serving one another? How do you get loving one another? How do you get sacrificing for one another? How do you get, hey, feed the starving, live for human rights, out of evolution universally?
Well, you're just getting it from a book that was written by.
No, we're not getting it from a
We
book.
never
I
mentioned
told
the
you
book
Hindus,
once.
Jews.
So
I
please
told you
stop
everybody.
doing that.
Yeah.
We never said the book Bible once.
That's
It's
what I
not
thought
part of
you
our
were going
discussion
on.
right
Yeah.
now. We're talking about your conscience. We're talking about the way you experience life.
How do you
And
know
I
that
bet,
humans
although
are
I can't prove it,
inherently that way. If there's an objective,
If you're
right and wrong,
different, tell
how
me.
do you know that humans don't inherently believe that in general? How do you know that that came from some sort of higher power?
We don't
And
inherit.
it's
a
real
higher-
simple.
a higher
It's
power
real
is-
simple, sir.
A higher
If
power
you
is the
say
most-
there is no
is the most
God,
simple way
then
to
reality is
explain
matter
what
and
we don't
energy.
Understand. Believing in God, believing in a higher power, is the most human, simple way of explaining what we don't understand.
Baloney.
No.
I believe in
no,
God
no.
because God is the best explanation of what I see and observe. And what I'm trying to show you, sir, is what you believe is not the best explanation of why him sexually assaulting her is wrong.
When you look
Because
at the
baboons
beginning-
and chimpanzees do it all the time, and it's not wrong for them. It's an instinct they have. But I'm hoping, you're right, maybe I'm wrong, I'm hoping that you agree with me that for him to sexually assault her is not good. It's really, really
When you look at the
wrong.
beginning of every religion, it was all created by people trying to explain what they can't understand.
Baloney. Total baloney.
That is
Switching topics.
objectively the reality.
Oh, that's a cop-out, sir.
That's how
Total
religion was
cop-out.
created.
That's false.
But it's not.
People do not believe in God because they have to fill the gaps.
Yes,
Some people
because it
do,
was- no,
some
I'm not
people
saying-
do.
I'm not saying now. I'm saying in the past.
Oh, in the past, them
thousands-
ignorant people,
thousands-
right? No, baloney. Baloney.
People created religion
People
to explain what they
believe in
couldn't
God,
understand.
first
Because
of
that was
all,
before
because they
science
see
existed.
order and
That was before
design,
modern
and they
science.
say,
That was-
wow. Secondly, they understand there's a meaning to life, and they say, wow. Thirdly, they
You're describing
experience
reasons why
love,
someone might
and they
choose to
say,
join a religion.
wow.
You're
No.
explaining why-
If your worldview is correct, then love comes from right here, and energy. Matter and energy. Remember, if you say there is no God, all of reality is matter and energy. You don't get love from matter and energy. Love is a free decision of a will to care for
Religion
somebody.
was developed over time, explaining what people couldn't understand,
Baloney.
and then writing that down. And it was
Sir, I believe in God because confronted by this man with order and design, I don't say, you're an accident. Why? Because accidents don't produce order and design. Accidents produce chaos. This is not chaos. This is not chaos. This is amazing order and design. Therefore, it is far more reasonable, plausible, to say, in the beginning, God, meaning by that intelligent mind, than it is to say, in the beginning, chance. You're a marvelous accident. Baloney. It's not a marvelous accident. There's too much order and design.
That's what science has. The whole
Science?
universe.
Oh, come on, sir. All right, one quick illustration for this science, because you keep on bringing up science. Sir, scientifically, I know that I can prove that if I put arsenic in Grandma's tea, she will die. Science. But the question is, in light of the fact that Grandma has a really big stock portfolio and really large bank account, should I drop arsenic in her tea tonight so I can get the inheritance tomorrow? Science says zero. Zero. No, you listen. Come on. Think with me. That's not the point. The point is, science is a study of process.
I bring up science, and then you just completely change the subject to another.
To science. What you brought up. I didn't bring up science. You brought it up. You've used the word a couple of times. So I'm trying to straighten stuff out here. All right? Science can answer the question, what happens if you drop poison in Grandma's tea? She drinks it, she will die. Science does not answer the question, should you put poison in Grandma's tea, because then she will die, and then you get the inheritance. That is an ethical question. Science does not answer the ethical question. So it's a different field of knowledge from ethics. Science is very important. Don't put poison in Grandma's tea because you will kill her. It does not answer the ethical question. In light of all the money that she has, should you kill her in order to get her money? That's an ethical question. That's not a scientific question.
But I didn't answer science to any moral or ethical question.
You brought up science. I didn't. You brought it up.
Yes, I brought up science because you said that it was unlikely that chance is what created us and the universe and everything.
That's exactly right.
But that's not true. According to science,
that's
not true.
That's not science at all.
The Big Bang Theory is the leading theory of why we're here.
And what do you think the Big Bang Theory tells you? That there's a beginning, which means there's got to be a cause. There's got to be some type of creator. And that's what Einstein had to struggle with. Oh no, Einstein says, I thought the universe was eternal. The Big Bang shows me it's not eternal, which means there's a beginning, which means there's got to be some type of creator. And that's exactly where Einstein went. Now, did you bring Einstein up?
You brought Einstein up.
Okay. In the area of science.
All that explains is that we don't know what happened before that Big Bang. That's all that explains. That doesn't explain, oh, someone or something had to create. It just means we don't know what happened.
That there was something big enough, powerful enough, and outside of space and time to create something inside of space and time. So it's a philosophical. Wait. You stopped. Is that a question, or did you just pause?
No,
You want to keep talking?
If you believe in the Big Bang, then the concept of outside of space and time before the Big Bang, it's
nothing. Is nothing something, or is nothing nothing? See, atheists have to say nothing is something to get around the argument to say, see, the universe has lasted forever. And so the best atheists that we argue with, the celebrity ones like Aaron Ra and Matt Dillahunty, they'll redefine nothing into something. But all the cosmologists know that actually there was a beginning. So there has to be a beginningless creator, or at least something powerful, call it a computer, that started this thing, that was personal to make that decision. Sounds a lot like God.
Of what we know to exist. What we as humanity knows to exist.
Science, scientifically.
There was a beginning of that. We don't know if we're just some little tiny thing in a massive thing that already existed. We don't know. But we have
had a beginning. That's what science points to. You keep saying science. That's the best cosmologists say that.
But how
consensus. There's a consensus to that now. And that's why so many atheist, naturalistic cosmologists are depressed and they're on medication. Because they started to realize that they're ushering in some type of designer. Even Richard Dawkins has admitted that. So what are you saying exactly? There's some point?
I'm saying that...
What does this mean?
Before...
I'm being honest. I'm not trying to poke.
Sure.
I'm being honest. What does this mean?
All that we know is the extent of the universe that we have known to exist. We haven't explored the whole universe. We don't know what exists. We don't know what's out there.
Agreed.
So we don't know how expansive it is. So all that we know is that before the Big Bang, nothing existed in the area that we know of.
So you are a scientist of the gaps. You were calling him a God of the gaps guy. You're a science of the gaps guy. Where you're saying, we have no idea yet, so let's just pause it. Science will figure it out sometime in the future. That's exactly what I just heard right there.
Well, it's better than saying, oh, well, it's just because some
No, we're saying it makes sense that something that is beginningless,
from a human perspective,
timeless, personal to decide,
man,
all
it's
powerful.
been good talking with you. I can't thank you enough. You don't want to shake my hand?
No.
All right.
Because you're just a
Oh, you want wait?
professional
Quick
debate
response.
lord.
Quick. She
I'm
wanted
not a
quick
professional
response.
debater.
Quick response.
I'm an atheist. Are you an atheist?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm an
You're just
atheist.
a professional fucking debate lord. You just come out here every day.
It's tricky because it's all a belief system, right?
Sir, you stepped out and started talking, and you have every right to do that, and I thank you for doing
No
that.
one walking past you all the time.
Well, you feel free to walk past me. It's just fine.
So
You can do that.
I think from what I was understanding, what you were saying, the question might be, and I wonder this too. Well, now I lost it a little bit. Are you saying that, and forgive me if I misquote.
No, just speak
either
out.
of you.
Come on, let's go. Let's
Are
get
you
it.
saying that love and emotion and feelings and goodness come from God? So essentially saying that me, who considers myself an atheist, would really be a Christian because I experience love and emotion for other people.
All right. I'm going to say this once, I hope.
Okay.
If you're an atheist, you have limited reality
True.
to matter and energy. Matter and energy. Which means it is impossible to have a free will. Because a free will means there is a me that goes beyond the complex chemical reactions in my brain. No God, no free will, because all I am is a complex chemical reaction, and you do not have a free will coming out of a complex chemical reaction. Second point, my experience of life is I can be highly disrespectful to him, not choose to shake his hand, or I can choose to shake his hand after a very spirited debate, which I have no problem with, and I've never taken a debate course once, by the way, to straighten you out on me. Instead, I can be respectful or disrespectful. I don't have to do either. Which means my experience of reality is there's more to reality than matter and energy. There is a soul, a person, a me, a personhood that has a free will, the ability to love. What is love? It is not a sex drive. Love is not a chemical reaction. Love is a free decision to forgive the guy who stuck the knife in my back. And everything within me is saying, knock him into the next generation. And instead of doing that, I freely choose to forgive and to love. That is why he cannot live out what he's saying and you cannot live out your atheism, because there's a deep part of you that says, no, I am. My point is, if you are an atheist, you are limiting reality to matter and energy. You do not get rational thinking from the non-rational. You don't get love from matter and energy, because to love means to choose to care for somebody, and I don't have to. I never have to care for her. I can use her, I can manipulate her, I can be highly disrespectful, but I can also choose to be respectful, to honor her, to love her. My experience, and I'm banking on the fact that you've had this experience and that you have, is that love is real. You don't have to love. There are deadbeat dads. You don't have to be a good dad. I got to work with deadbeat dads. They've made a choice, and the choice is to abuse their kids. And guess what? I'm not going to say you had to abuse your kids. The same way I'm not going to say to a good dad, you had to love your kid. You choose. You want to be a deadbeat dad? Go ahead. It's your choice. You have free will.
And so that's why the consistent atheist at University of Texas, there were a bunch of them last year. I didn't hear any this year for some reason. Kept saying, hey, all love is just your neurotransmitters. That's all love is. It's just how they're taken in certain ways. Your oxytocin, your endorphins, your serotonin at certain times in certain places. Yes. And that's all love is. All right, live that out. You're limiting. How many times have you said it?
A lot of times.
Limiting.
I'm not saying that's what it feels like to us, but knowing that we get love because of a chemical reaction in our
brain. It's part of it. It's part of it. But is that the whole ball of wax? He's talking about you're limiting reality to simply neurochemicals, and that's all.
But it's not limiting
And we don't
reality.
just get love from God. No, love is immaterial, just like free will.
Reality. It's
What's
just
that?
knowing that our emotions come from chemical reactions in our brain is just, that's just knowing
that
How
exists.
depressing. You're going to go home to your girlfriend tonight, and you're just going to be like, hey, it's just the neurochemicals. That's the only reason I'm determined to kind of love you right now.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the reason that we feel love is because of the chemicals in our brain. I'm saying that the act of feeling love is the chemicals in our brain.
It's a part of it. That's what I just said, and I agree with you.
That literally is what it is.
It's more than that. I hope love, that's my point right there.
Yes,
I hope love is more than just that.
To someone, it feels like more than that. It feels overwhelming. It feels all-encompassing. But in reality, it is just the chemicals in your brain.
So it's just fooling us. Love is not real. You're just getting played by your neurochemicals.
No, it is your.
And it's not immaterial.
Working.
And it's not immaterial whatsoever. That's why, again, the most consistent top atheist that we know will say love is not a real thing.
Us walking is our brain working. Are we going to say, oh, you're only walking because chemicals in your brain?
That's completely different from love. Me walking, the physical process of walking, is completely different from me making the decision to love and sacrifice
making
for
the decision
her.
to love someone.
Yes.
And falling in love with someone is not because of the chemical reactions in your brain. It is because of the experiences that you've had, the life experiences. Feeling, the act of feeling it is the chemicals in your brain.
But then why do you have actions of love? Why do you do things?
Yeah, why do you?
Because that's how.
Because
the chemical reaction in our brain, that's how it feels
just a
to us living it. That's how it feels. That's how the brain works. You think that our consciousness is something bigger than just what's in our body? That doesn't make sense.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Religion is such a tricky conversation to have, and if you come into a conversation from both sides, not wanting to be open to the other, it makes it really hard.
But this is a metaphysical, philosophical conversation. This has nothing to do with religion.
One.
It is not a religious
No, but in
conversation.
any sort of conversation,
It's philosophy.
If
Right,
you come in and it's just
All right.
like,
Now, there's some people with their hands up, okay? Can we shake hands, or is that not cool?
I mean,
You don't have to shake my hand. You choose, right?
I'll shake your hand. I just don't agree with the way that you come at this. You know?
Well, I don't agree with the way what you say.
It's judgmental.
But that means we're still going to respect each other, right?
I never said I didn't respect you.
Good. Okay, great. In fact, I love you, and I pray that you'll come to put your faith in Christ, because I want to get to know you better in heaven.
That's not going to happen. But
Well, how do you know that?
me coming
Because
to
he's determined. Faith in Christ.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't believe in God. I'm not.
Well, I know, but
Just
a year
think
from
about
now or
these.
2 years from now, maybe you will.
First of all, I hope this is not blasphemous, but if I'm putting myself in the shoes of God and I'm sending my son, wouldn't I send him in more of a digital age where people can record what he's saying and pass on the messages instead of having to rely on
Word of mouth.
word of mouth? Yeah,
right.
or written. You know, instead I could see, you know what, Jesus is rising from the tomb. I just saw that. Or, kind of get what I'm kind of trying to ask? Like, wouldn't I send him now when information is saved and passed on more reliantly than just having to go from generation to generation, word of mouth or written like that?
Well, the historical eyewitness testimony is Muhammad really lived.
Right.
We have the Quran carefully preserved, and that is why I have a good way of knowing what did Muhammad believe, what did he teach, how did he treat people.
Right.
Same thing with Jesus Christ.
Right.
Historical person, really lived, taught, died, and rose from the dead.
But all we have is like people telling from generation to generation. Even with Islam,
Yeah.
a lot of what Muhammad said was reported by a guy 600 years after.
Yep.
So
Have you ever seen
if he was
Forrest
here
Gump?
now, huh?
Have you ever seen Forrest Gump?
Yes, sir.
You think he met President Kennedy?
No.
No, well, it was on there. It was on the film.
That was a movie. though.
Digitally, it was there.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump talks to President Kennedy.
Right.
So, sir, you can lie digitally.
Fair.
You can lie verbally. You can lie any way you want to.
Fair.
All right? But the fortunate thing is that not everybody lies all the time.
Right.
And that's why we study history.
Right.
Because we have ways of determining whether something historically is valid or invalid. And the idea that has been spouted out here, that the only way you can know something to be true is if everybody agrees,
No.
thank you.
Yeah.
That is a crock.
Yes. You need some sort of.
Truth exists, and it does not depend upon majority opinion.
Democracy got us slavery. It's not the
Yeah.
only thing is not.
That's
majority.
right. Democracy got us slavery. Tragic. Tragic.
Yeah. It's
Okay, what's your next question?
second question. So I'm a science major.
Yes.
When you look at, and I'm never gonna try answer philosophical or those kind of questions from science because you were right. Science is just processes.
Thank you. Holy smokes, thank you, sir.
So when we look at scientific processes
Yes.
or DNA or that kind of stuff,
Right.
we don't really see any like miraculous divine intervention.
Correct. We don't.
Right. Should
Why?
we not, if there is
Good.
somebody
Good.
divine?
You are good. All right, you're thinking. We don't agree, obviously.
Right.
But we're going at it, and I love it. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. What is a miracle? It is not repeatable. What is science based on? Repeatability. If you cannot do it in Austin, in London, in Calcutta, as well as in San Marcos, it ain't science.
To use your words, it's baloney.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So, science is a precious branch of knowledge. Don't go on a scientific date. It'll be horrible.
Right.
When I was at MIT, an MIT student said, "I'm dating my computer." Oh man.
Okay.
Tragic. Okay? We're not computers. We're human beings with a body.
Right.
And medically, we're going to get the best doctors we can who have scientifically analyzed the body. But we're going to acknowledge that that's a person there. And although I can analyze your brain, I have no ability to scientifically analyze your thoughts. Yes, I can analyze your brain. No, I cannot scientifically analyze your thoughts. And that's what my point is. My point is, there's a lot more to reality than what you can scientifically observe and then repeat in a lab. Is that fair enough?
Yes, sir. Good talking to you.
Oh, man.
gotta go to class.
The honor was mine, man.
Thanks. Mood and
Thank you.
lighter?
Would you say that the devil is showing himself more openly than when you were a kid? Because
No.
I can look at my life,
Right.
and when I was like a kid, I saw like in cartoons, I saw things that seemed to be hidden demonic messages, things like that,
Yeah.
very very subtle.
Right.
And now I look at like what my brother and sister are watching, and I'm like, they're watching a show where the characters are demons, and
Right.
it's like it seems just more out there. There's
Yep.
there's Satanist groups in elementary, because
Yep.
I know the devil's always been there, but
Yep.
I just feel like he's openly there more, and it's like a trend now instead of something to be feared.
I think it'd be more accurate to say, in our culture, the devil is more actively expressing himself, okay? But I can promise you, sir, the devil has been at work, and to try and picture this time as being the most evil is ridiculous. You know what I'm real grateful for? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, they're okay now. Yeah, what happened to their forefathers and foremothers 250 years ago? They were enslaved, right here. Please don't tell me that evil wasn't rampant 250 years ago and that today it's just really messed up. No, evil has been around right from the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve rebelled against God. Now, evil expresses itself differently, and our culture is moving more into secularism, atheism, materialism. Yes, sir, totally agree. And you're absolutely right, obviously. From movies to cartoons to music, it is more and more godless. No question about it. But remember, there's not too many things that are being done today that are worse than enslaving a human being and whooping up on them and then having the audacity to bring them to church on Sunday. I mean, you talk about a messed up program. Oh my goodness. Not only that, my dad grew up in Switzerland. And my dad, at one point, was up in the mountains with his gun. His dad was down on the front lines. And you know who he was facing? Adolf Hitler's panzer divisions. And I can promise you, if you look at Dachau and Auschwitz and Buchenwald, and you can walk away saying, oh, evil is really bad today, but it wasn't bad back then. Baloney. They gassed millions of Jews. And then look at Mao Zedong and the 38 plus million people he slaughtered in China. Look at Joseph Stalin and the 42 million plus people he murdered in Russia and the Soviet Union. Evil is real. I don't care if you're 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or today. It is real. And guys, that's one of the reasons First of all, you should not accept moral relativism, which is being taught by some on this campus. Because if moral relativism is true, then it is not evil to enslave him in the United States. It's just an opinion. It's just a cultural decision. Baloney. Dr. Martin Luther King understood all too well when he wrote the letter from the Birmingham jail, I don't really give a rip what this great state of Alabama has decreed. There's a law above the law of the great state of Alabama, and according to that law, segregation is demeaning, it's dehumanizing, it's wrong. And who did he have to argue with? The white ministers of Birmingham, Alabama. How embarrassing. So just remember, evil is real, and don't buy into this crock. Oh, it's all relative, bud. It's just a matter of culture, really. Well, guess what? White America was wrong when they enslaved African Americans, and America is wrong today when we date rape on American university campuses. What on earth is going on? I thought this was America. Why date rape? Are you kidding me? Sexually assaulting a woman? That's pathetic. So please don't give me this garbage. Oh, it's all relative, guys. It's just a matter of culture. Your culture defines whatever they want to. Really? You know what the culture of a gang says? The culture of a gang says, you want to be part of us? You want to be part of our group? Will you go out and murder that guy? Or go out and slash his face, like a buddy of mine had his slash faced in Rikers in New York City recently by a gang member, opposing gang member. Because you want to be included into our group, into our culture, the gang. And we, the gang, define what's right and what's wrong. Why? Because morality is relative, isn't it? No, it is not. And I don't care if your gang tells you to go out and murder somebody or slice their ear off. God says you don't treat people that way because all people are equally valuable.
Evil is immaterial. If you're a materialist, which all atheists should be, you should not believe that there's something like evil. You see something like a shooting, it's not evil. Now, from your perspective, it could be what you would say is bad, but there's no evil in it. That's your point on Satan. See, one of the best pieces of evidence for the existence of God, for me, you listen to Bill Gates say, oh, the world is getting so much better. Okay, in one sense, he's helped out some with his money in terms of helping end, in certain pockets of the world, definitely not across the world, poverty. Okay, that's great. So in one sense, it's getting better. You talk to Martin Luther King Jr. in his day and age. You talk to Solzhenitsyn. You talk to, hopefully us, we're not at that level, but you talk to any psychologist. You tell me right now, is the human heart getting better? You tell me right now, is there certain gun violence that is getting better? You tell me right now, is depression and psychology, how about divorce? Are those getting better? And then you go to Beatrice Webb, the head of the welfare system in Europe for 30 to 40 years. She thought, oh, we can solve it. Let's solve it first with education. That didn't work after about 15 years. Oh, we'll solve it with science and technology. That didn't work after 10 to 15 years. She was an atheist. She became a Christian because she started to realize, just like Martin Luther King Jr., just like Solzhenitsyn, just like Dostoevsky, this is a heart issue. And yes, the devil comes into play as well. And the only thing that's going to answer a heart issue is God. No science, unfortunately. Science can help. No education, unfortunately. No money, unfortunately. They can all help. But if you're honest, we will always have a problem with the devil and every single person here, including ourselves, because things are a heart issue. And we need God. We need to turn over our very selves to God if things are going to get straightened out.
And that is why we're not out here talking about you being a Republican or you being a Democrat. Because that ain't the solution, ultimately. The solution is Jesus Christ, who's God, who changes the human heart. You know about apartheid in South Africa? Or apartheid in South Africa said, you black folk, you stay in the ghetto. You stay in the townships that we assign you to. and the racism in apartheid South Africa was pathetic. Well, Nelson Mandela came along and things changed. And there was a Truth and Reconciliation Commission that said, we can't just ignore what has happened. We got to deal with it. And so they put up courtroom situations where people came in and were accused, and then people chose how to deal with it. Well, there's one courtroom situation where there's a white police officer named Officer Vanderbroek. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission looked into the face of the black South African woman at one side of the court and into the white face of Officer Vanderbroek and said, Officer Vanderbroek, you went into this woman's township, you grabbed her husband, you brought him outside, and you partied. And at the end of your party, you burned him over a pit of fire until he became dust, ashes. Then a few weeks later, officer, the evidence is, you went to that same township and you took not this woman's husband this time, you took her only son. And you brought him outside the township and there you partied and then burned him to ashes. Now, ma'am, what do you want us to do to this guy? And this black South African woman said, I want three things. First of all, I want Officer Vanderbroek to bring me to the place where he burned my husband and my son to death, because I want to gather up the ashes and give them a proper burial. Second thing is, I want Officer Vanderbroek to come to my township, my home, once a week, and I want to mother him, because he's taken my family away, and I want to mother him. And the third thing is, I want to be allowed to walk across this courtroom and embrace Officer Vanderbroek to try and convince him that my forgiveness of him is real. And the Truth and Reconciliation say, go ahead, ma'am. This black South African woman stands up, walks across the courtroom, and as she's coming towards him, Officer Vanderbroek faints dead away. Good response, officer, because you're confronted by the forgiveness, the grace of God revealed through a woman who should hate your guts. Now, what you got to do is you got to ask yourself, is that real? Is love and forgiveness real, or is it just a feeling? And according to Christ, it's a real ability that God has given you and you and you and me and you and you. And real life is found in loving and forgiving people and restoring broken relationships. Do you understand, my friends, whose mom and dad divorced? You're going to probably get married someday, and you're going to have to make a decision. Do I forgive or do I seek revenge? Am I going to be committed or am I going to cheat? You make up your life, and I can promise you it's not about science equations, it's about your relationships with others.
To this day, like, there's so many branches of Christianity with so many different like rules. Like, some believe that sex before marriage is a sin, some believe that it's okay, some believe that all you need is faith, some believe that you need good works and faith to get into heaven. Like, it's not just like, but they're like different variations. But like, how, if it's all rooted from the same, like if it's all like only from God, basically, like directly from God, how is there so many like alterations? You know?
The reason there's so many alterations is because I want to do it my way, not God's way. Now, I'm not too smart until it comes to rationalizing what I want to do. Then I turn downright brilliant. I can rationalize just about anything if I want to do it. So the challenge is not to play that game. For me, the challenge is to say, all right, Lord, what do you call me to do? And help me to do it. I can justify stealing like that. I can justify lying like that. It'll help me get ahead in life. I can justify just about anything if I want to do it badly enough. Don't go that way. Instead, say, Lord God, you're the one who created me. You made me for a purpose. Help me to live out the purpose for which you made me. See, think about purpose. Is sex an accident? No. Sex is a gift from God. So then, God, why did you give me my sexuality? What is the purpose? Is money bad? No. Money is good when it represents hard work. But the love of money is bad. Why? Because the love of money is a statement. The most important thing about you is your body, your money, the material, the car you drive, the house you live in, the vacation you go on. That's really what it means to be a person. False. You're a human being created by God for a purpose. Not to be a money-making machine or a sex-making machine or a career-making machine. You're created by God to love God and to love others. That's the purpose for which God made you. So, think hard. Ask the question, what is the purpose of my money, my education, my sexuality, my family, my career? Oh God, what do you want me to do? And then quickly, finally, God is good. Which means when you do it God's way, you're being really smart. Because he ain't gonna rip you off. He's really good. He's really the one who made you. So even if all the hormones in your body are saying, let's have sex, no. God is good, he really loves me, so I'm gonna obey him, even though I don't feel like it. And I feel like doing a lot of crazy things, to be honest with you. When some obnoxious university student goes after me, believe me, I feel like laying him out and making him pay for it. Just because I feel that way does not make it right. Don't base your life on your feelings. Base your life on truth, on the God who loves you and who's really, really good. Stuart, what do you think?
Well, if you can, look up the name Rebecca McLaughlin, a prolific writer right now. She's at Cambridge, one of the smartest women I know. And she has wrestled her whole life and was gay, SSA, same-sex attraction, and she ended up praying a ton, saying, God, I don't think this is the best you want for me in terms of how I can flourish. Please help change my desires, my drives. So she ended up marrying a man and having kids. She said it was one of the greatest things I've ever experienced. She said she still has the temptation to lust over women, but in no way does she feel like I am a determined robot and this is all that this only drive I will ever have. And wow, thanks God, you really screwed me over. Now she's never gotten to that point. Or read the book, Is God Anti-Gay? Nice, really short book. I love short books for some reason. And it's all about this author who also same-sex attraction. Grew up, frequently had all kinds of urges, I think lived out the homosexual lifestyle for a while. But then he said, and I got to the point of understanding, yes, I understand why God calls for diversity when it comes to sex ethics. And he said, my relationship with God is stronger, way stronger than it ever was before when I had other relationships with different people. And I've heard that by many different people, whether they are gay and choose not to live out that lifestyle, whether they're single and heterosexual and never had another relationship. The single life can be pretty amazing when it comes to growing a relationship with God, as opposed to when you are married. Sometimes it's not as strong, many will say.
What is Christian nationalism? Because I've been hearing a lot about that, and like what are like effects of it and stuff.
Christian nationalism is so tied to politics, the Christian faith, that it's all about, hey, be a Republican, or you can be a Democrat, and here's your Christianity. And we're going to take it in such a way where we're going to use it as a tool to dominate. We're going to use Christianity in such a way where, hey, yeah, you know, I'm one of the 90% on the football team. I'm a Christian, and I'm going to use that to get ahead. And by the way, Christian nationalism is incredibly exclusive and judgmental. Because if you're not a Christian, wow, you shouldn't be on my political party. It's the ultimate takeover. So that's a big part that's driving Christian nationalism. Now, some people will say, oh, it was Donald Trump's 33%. Those are the Christian nationalists. Now, I could see again where they're going with that. I had a woman who came up to me and was sobbing in my arms after Donald Trump won his first election. And she was saying, I can't be an evangelical anymore because then I'd be a Christian nationalist and be a Trumpster. And I said, well, drop the terms, ma'am. Please drop the terms. Just be a follower of Jesus Christ. You don't need to be a Christian nationalist. You don't need to be an evangelical. You don't need to be a Pentecostal. Focus on who Jesus Christ is. And on every single university campus, that's what we try and hopefully discuss with people about. Drop the titles, help other people understand that Jesus Christ actually was a historical figure, made these incredible claims, and then pulled off this incredible, supernatural, historical event called the resurrection that has changed this world, and that there is heaven waiting for us. Good question.